Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is Thursday, the 12th of June, 2025. I am Graham Hughes. How are you all doing this morning? Sorry, I'm a bit late, a bit flustered. You know it's a good morning when everything that can go wrong does go wrong and you end up with gaffer tape and WD-40 on your desk to try and get things started. But there is no problem in this life that cannot be solved with gaffer tape and WD-40. So, big shout out to everyone in the chat there. We've got Martin Harrow, we've got Ned Gibbons, we've got Stevie H in the chat, we've got Leapshin, we've got Liam, we've got Ian, Billy, Diz, Reagan Elite, we have Alistair in the chat, we have Pygmalion, Veg Pack, we have so many beautiful, lovely people in the chat today. You can join them. All you need to do is hit that subscribe button and just wait for a minute and you can opine relatively freely. Don't be a troll. There's places for trolls, and one of those places is not here. So, is that a sex thing? Not really, Vendetta, no. Fixing your tripod and your chair is not a sex thing. But yes, it's done now. So, talking of things being done now, we've had the spending review. Now, I don't know how many of you joined me yesterday for the actual spending review live, as it was coming out of the mouth of Rachel Reeves. But Here's where we are at the moment. Labour are claiming that the spending review is the end of austerity. However, let's get into it. So first of all, let's talk about the impact on jobs and public sector funding. Public sector workers could see effects on their pay and also on their job security as well. Hopefully, this is going to be a good thing. We hope that a lot of this is going to be a good thing, but I'm cautiously optimistic. But really, the big winners in this are the defence industry and the NHS. Although not the care sector, which we'll get into in a moment. Science and tech is also receiving investment. Now, what she's done is she said, no, this isn't funding. So I'm not breaking my rules. It's not funding, it's investment, which is a bit weird because that's what I keep saying about reparations to the countries around the world that we absolutely screwed over in the past. I say, don't call it reparations, call it investment. And you can get away with it. It's semantics, really, because if you fund public services, it is an investment because you'll always get more bang for your buck than you put in. You always get more out of the machine than you put in. It's a money-making machine, putting money into public services, as demonstrated by countries all over Europe, particularly Norway, which does like to put a lot of its money where its mouth is in situations like this. So, but despite the fact science and tech and some infrastructure projects are going ahead, defence and NHS, the Home Office budget has been cut by 1.7%. Foreign Office, which is mostly foreign aid budget, has been cut by 6.9%. Department of Transport in general has been cut by 5%. So even though they're planning to spend 15 billion everywhere, but London, the actual annual department share has gone down by 5%. Environment and Rural Affairs. I said department share there. That's not technically correct. The budget for the department has gone down. Environment and Rural Affairs have lost 2.7% annually, and business and trade is down by 1.8%. The Sizewell C nuclear power plant has been approved. We've talked about this. Said to create 10,000 direct jobs. And critics have argued that this review focuses on high productivity sectors like defence and tech, while neglecting the everyday economy. I'd like to bring you in on this, by the way, if you want to talk about what you feel about the spending review and how you think it's going to affect you or not affect you. There's warnings that capital spending without day-to-day investment won't improve living standards, and Rachel Reeves has admitted herself that she is concerned that people might not see the benefits of what Labour's doing before the next election, which could be very electorally dangerous. You're entering dangerous waters here because Labour could change the country for the better. But then if Refuck get in, within a year, everything that Labour have done would be reversed. So there'd be no point in doing any of it. This is why I feel like Labour should be going faster and harder. Optimistic nihilist, thank you very much. Cautiously optimistic nihilist, maybe. The NHS is getting real-term cuts when you map it to growing demand. It will continue to get worse because the spending increases each year must be well above real inflation to keep up with demand. That's very true. And also, optimistic nihilist, there is the care factor. If we funded carers, at-home carers, family carers, properly, like what we should do, and made it their job, then we wouldn't have to pay people to come in and do it. Do you know what I mean? Like, for a lot of cases, not all cases, but for a lot of cases, where a parent or a sibling or even a kid is looking after their parent, an adult child. I think that should be remunerated. I think that should be remunerated by the government to the tune of like a full-time job, because it is a full-time, being a full-time carer is a full-time job. But we have this weird thing where you go, no, you can't care for them all the time. You go out to work to pay for your life, to pay the rent, to pay the mortgage, right? You go out and work, and we'll pay other people to come into your house and help out the person in the house, and they can go from place to place. And I'm just like that, and they can make money for shareholders, you see. There's private companies that are employed by our government to go in and give care, and it's just, and care homes are a mess. They cost so much money. People are losing their homes. You know, these elderly people, they should they should downsize and give it to their kids. But you know, if they don't, the care homes are taking the homes because you got to pay for your care, especially if you get dementia. So let's look at what else she said. That was good. Starting in September 2026, all children in England on universal credit, or as parents on universal credit, will be eligible for free school meals. Currently, it's only households earning less than 7,400 per year qualify. Scotland, Wales, and London already offer broader meal provision than the rest of the country. And you know, there was something in there as well about capping the cost of uniforms, which is welcomed. But they didn't mention the two-tier limit on the two-child limit, which is just the most bananas thing that I could possibly imagine. Because they're saying, oh, it encourages people to have kids when they can't afford them. And I'm like, okay, here's your choices, dickhead, right? You can either get people to have kids, even though they might not be able to quite afford them, and then top up what they earn in order that they can give those kids a really good quality of life, or even just a decent quality of life. Or you can watch your fertility rate go off a cliff, and we're going to have to get a lot more people from other countries to come and live here, because otherwise we're not going to be able to look after the increasingly elderly population, glut of people over the age of 65. Not all boomers. I think all boomers are now over the age of 65, but you know, not all boomers in general. And so that's the choice. What do you want? Do you want to support British people having kids? Or do you want to say, no, we don't want British people having kids. We want to bring in people from abroad. I'm kind of cool with bringing people from abroad, but I think it's a bit unfair. I think it's really disgusting. And it's a mark of the elitist, class-ridden society in which we live, in which only the posh rich people think that they are worthy of passing on their genes to the next generation, because nearly every single fucking rich person is a fucking eugenicist. They think that they are born superior just because they're rich. I think they're born inferior because they're all fucking inbred, but, you know, with no empathy. So yeah, the scrapping of the two-child limit would have been welcome. That wasn't there. Okay, so libraries, pools, local services. This is going to be funded, but there are catches here. This is 350 communities are slated to receive millions for renewal. These include places like parks and youth centres, pools, libraries. Council tax rises are expected to fund these improvements in the long term. Slight increases will in general local government funding. And these because local governments have been cut to the bone by the Tories and austerity. Don't forget, Liverpool had a 49% cut from central government funding in real terms from 2010 to now. 50% cut, 50% cut in what they get. So, I mean, and you got these dickheads from Refuck, the posh little fucking inbred bloody toffs, the aristocrats who are whining all the time about their fucking aristocratic bank accounts. I just want to ask the people around here who voted for Refuck, like, seriously, that was the big thing on your agenda, was it? Make sure that the rich aristocrats get their rich aristocratic bank accounts they want. To make sure they're not turned down for a credit card, eh? But yeah, this might have a knock-on effect, which might include changes to waste collection, parking costs, but also care provision, which wasn't mentioned much. I mean, it wasn't mentioned. Oh, this was picked up by Daisy Cooper in the Liberal Democrats when she gave her rebuttal, and she mentioned the fact that care wasn't really covered. We haven't heard much about care, and that seems to me one of the things that really needs to be looked at in Britain today. Optimistic Nihilist, another £10. Thank you very much. Indeed, care is being neglected and is creating perpetual drag on the NHS. Absolutely agree. Also, more PIP cuts coming in the autumn statement. I don't want to distress people, but it's the truth. Write to your MP. I don't think they're going to come. And I'm going to tell you why I don't think they're going to come, because I think that nearly everyone watching this is going to write to their MP. And there's going to be so much pressure on the backbenchers to not do this, to not cut the PIP that people already receive. But yeah, thanks for the super chat there. Just popped in to say Farage is what 9BS would look like if it had a face. I'm off down to Aldi. I'll watch when I get back. Give my love to Aldi. They increased the care limit. I don't know if they did that in this one. Do you mean the carer's allowance that you get, like fucking £100 a week or whatever it is, which you can't have if you spent too much time outside the country beforehand, even if you've been paying taxes into this country? This is mind blowing. This is like, if you had been living abroad for a few years and you get the dreaded message that one of your parents is ill and needs to be looked after, and you fly back to the UK to look after them, you can't get a carer's allowance because you haven't spent enough days in the UK in the preceding years. Even if you pay tax, even if you've had all of your earnings have gone into your British bank account and you pay tax on it in this country, you're not allowed it. Because I guess if you spend a bit of time abroad, you become a foreigner. You say, I'm actually a foreigner now because I spent many years living in other places, traveling in other places. Probably spent a decade of my life not actually in this country. So yeah, that makes me an honorary foreigner, I guess. I think the locals around here will fucking chase me up a tree with bloody pitchforks and burning torches. How dare I spend time in places with different coordinates of longitude and latitude? They really matter to me. Anyway, so the funding allocations are for Scotland. They're 52 billion for Wales. You're looking at 23 billion in Northern Ireland. Looking at 20 billion. And critics are saying this privatises capital over human services, which you could argue. But what Labour are trying to do, or what they're trying to argue, is that they are investing. They're investing in the basics, or the fundamentals, they call it, or the foundations. Is that it? Invest in the foundations, build the foundations, and from that, we will see a shift in people's quality of life. The £3 bus cap fare is extended to 2027. It's way too high. It should be £2. But it's been extended. Oh, thank you very much. Till March 2027. Separate systems exist in London and Manchester, where they pay a lot less. Bus in London is £1.75 last time I checked. Here it's £2.50. In London, where the average wage, let's do this now. Average wage London. Oh fucking hell! Average wage London is £53,000. God, I couldn't imagine earning that much money. I'd cry. Do you imagine earning 53,000? What do you do with all that extra money you've got at the end of the day? Like, what do you do with it? Is it cocaine? Is that what it gets spent on? Because that seems like like, I mean, do you need a TV in every room? Do you need 7 cars? Do you need that personalised number plate? Like, what the fuck do people who earn that kind of money spend the money on? Oh, God. Honestly, it blows my mind. Okay, average wage Durham. Let's have a look. 37,000. And yet we have to pay almost double for our bus fares. Seems fair. Jesus Christ. Wow. If you're a woman, the average salary is 33,000 in Durham. Wow. That's really bad. But, you know, at least those London people get their London allowances to get extra money because London's such an expensive country place to live. And it's like, yeah, transport's cheap though, isn't it? And effective. So you don't need a car. What do they spend their money on? I don't know. And you painting the fence. Yeah, painting the bloody fence. So, there is a commitment to Northern Powerhouse Rail. Now, I hope this isn't PR. I hope this is actually going to go ahead because this was a term, I think, made up by the Tories and nothing ever fucking happened. The West Coast Main Line, sorry, the Trans-Pennine Express, the line from Newcastle via Durham, Leeds, York, Huddersfield, Manchester to Liverpool is an absolute state. It is an absolute state. And it needs sorting out. Painfully needs sorting out. Paula Thomas, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. School uniforms were a racket when I was at school. You had to buy the whole uniform, except underwear, so the shop could charge what they wanted and hand the commission to the school. Yeah. Yep. Now, here's the thing. I don't disagree with school uniform. But I do disagree venomously with having to spend hundreds of pounds on school uniform, especially when you're struggling to get by. Investment has been promised for tram networks in Greater Manchester, West Yorkshire and the Midlands. Not Liverpool, though. Come here, tell you a little story. So, in 1997, the Labour local government in Liverpool were kicked out in favour of the Lib Dems. And the Lib Dems were a bit more sensible than the Labour council in many ways, especially the Labour council we had in the 80s, which was militant under Derek Hatton, which wasn't great. Led to us having the highest council tax in the country for many years. Anyway, so we had a Lib Dem council, and they wanted to bring in trams into Liverpool. They wanted to bring in trams. And they had the route all planned out. I think they bought the rails. They had it already. But they had just kicked me, tripod. Thank God for the WD-40. But they had about a £7 million shortfall, like peanuts in the greater scheme of things. And they asked the then Labour government in Westminster, can we have this money to make up the shortfall? And the Labour government said no. So we didn't get our trams back. Our trams that were ruthlessly stolen from us by the car manufacturers and the oil oligarchs and the road builders of the 1960s. Anyway, Ivan Ambrose, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. With disability benefits, nobody knows what's going to happen. I'm sick of some saying it's going to get worse and others saying it won't be as bad. Speculation on both sides does not help us at all. Yeah, I agree, Ivan. And also, I'm talking to everybody else here. Please write to your MP, because there is enough. If 100 Labour MPs say no, fuck off, you're not touching our PIP, then they won't do it. Simple as that. They will not do it. So yes, the Newcastle Sunderland Metro is getting extended. I mean, the Metro in Newcastle Sunderland it's horrible. I mean, it's just so grubby and the amount of money that is given to all the stations in London. I mean, there's 500 stations in London. There's some mad number of let's Google that. Maybe we should have a screen that comes up and it says Come Google with me. Number of train stations in London. Okay. There are 334 train stations in London. 334 train stations in London. That is a mad number, isn't it? And in Liverpool, there's like 4 in the city centre, and the really grubby. And in Newcastle, there's like a handful on their metro. I mean, and they're really grubby, and it's just lack of investments, lack of giving money for years and years. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, there's 356 passenger railway stations in or around London. 340 being in the boundary of Greater London. So there you go. Because obviously some of the train lines, some of the underground train lines actually spend a lot of time outside of London itself. Thank you very much to Optimistic Nihilist. What frustrates me the most with the spending review is that they're giving subsidies to private firms for most of the spending, and the rest is reverse PFI. While it's better, it's still very insufficient. Yeah. And I guess I'm not defending Labour here. You know, this is just a situation that we have found ourselves in. So much of our stuff in this country has been privatised, has been made for profit. People suffering, made for profit. Water, made for profit. Shit in our canals, made for profit. Shit all over our beach, made for profit. Our gas is made for profit. Our electricity grid is for profit. And having all these companies running stuff for the benefit of their shareholders is an absolute nonsense, especially when it's a natural monopoly like the water companies. They can't compete against each other. You can't choose if you live in London to get your water from United Utilities rather than from Thames Water. There's no option there. You have to have Thames Water. It's a fucking monopoly. What do you think that monopoly is going to be? Other than corrupt? Are you an idiot? I'm not you, obviously, watching this because you're obviously a smart cookie, including Optimistic Nihilist, who's been a member for 12 months. Reverse PFI is public spending in private ventures. Yeah, basically, PFI was private funding for public ventures, and this is public funding for private ventures. Quite right, Optimistic Nihilist. And Ivan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Graham, I recently said I've written twice to my MP on disability benefits, and he's not responded to me on both occasions. Who's your MP? Ivan, that's really shit. That is really shit. Although it does take a long time to get a response, usually for your MP. I get responses for stuff that I wrote back in March. I've forgotten that I've written a letter to my MP sometimes. I get an email back going, thank you for your letter. And I'm like, oh my God, that was like 3 months ago. So how long ago was it, and who's your MP? Nick and Diff also wants to know who your MP is. Are they Labour or are they a Tory? And this is why, just to go on a bit of a tangent, Graham's magic tangent time. Phil has a really good point that he says that if we're going to redo our PR system, we have it where we have party lists for cities so that you have like 4 or 5. I hope I'm not misquoting him here. I like this idea. You have 4 or 5 MPs for your area, right? You might have 4 Labour MPs and a Tory MP, or you might have 4 Tory MPs and a Labour MP. You might have a Tory MP, a Green MP, Plaid Cymru MP, and you can write to your MP that you think you'll get the best result from. So people who are stuck, Labour voters who need social care or social cohesion or just society to exist, who live in Tory areas with a Tory MP, at the moment, you write to your MP, you're not going to get anywhere. If you've got a Labour MP, you're much more likely to get some kind of results from bugging them all the time about what you feel about what's happening. Can Reform Council stop Labour spending plans? No, they can't. Comparing what they can do, Captain, is they can clog up the ways for things getting built and for stuff getting done. A really good example of this is Kensington and Chelsea in London is not part of the cycle network. Like, they don't have any fucking proper cycle lanes in this one area, in this posh area, this posh bastard area with these posh little inbred psychopaths who live there. The fucking hills have monocles, you know, sitting there all Habsburg-like, you know, playing with their massive toes in the corner of the room going, because that's what rich people do. And they're like, we don't want any cyclists around here. Yeah, I'm ready to get into my Bentley. And so they gum up the works. And when they're trying to build cycle infrastructure across London, they're the groups who stop it from happening. So they can clog it up. I don't think they can stop it, but they can definitely clog it up here in Durham and in Lincolnshire and Staffordshire and other unfortunate places where dickheads have voted. Oh, sorry, I shouldn't shout that here. My ward voted for the Greens. So thank you. So I've got 2 Green councillors here in my particular part of Durham, but everywhere else it's just really fuck as far as the eye can see. They had about 63 fucking councillors elected, all of whom are dickheads, all of whom don't know what they're doing. Our council leader, his last business wound up owing his creditors and the taxman £1 million. Now he's in charge of a fucking council. Well, he's not. The CEO is in charge of the council, but you know. It takes the piss that rich shareholders who don't live in this country profit for putting shit in our waterways when they live in places like Monaco, and the shit don't wash up on the shore. Yeah, exactly. Martin says our son's school has its own shop on site, also PTA, selling cheap uniforms that kids have grown out of. That's a great idea, Martin. Like, you know, vintage. Talk Madia. Has anyone seen my car keys? Yep, they're down the back of the couch. Fell out your pocket when you were sitting on the couch yesterday. Go and look down there. Seriously, anything that's lost, car keys, change, Lord Lucan, you always find it down the back of the couch. It's also in the last place you look, because you stop looking once you found it. Anyway, thank you very much to Talk Madia. So yes, going back to the yesterday's report, almost £1 billion is going to be given to train services in the southwest, which I hope is music to the ears of one angry pagan, if you're watching. And Guardian columnists have praised the focus on infrastructure. And their review, there was a good review of it in the Guardian where they got lots of different voices to just do a paragraph, like probably Toynbee and other people, to say what they liked about it and what they didn't like about it. So let's talk about the nuclear winter. Oh my god. I just conflated two headers that I've got on my notes, because I'm going to talk about nuclear in a moment. But before I talk about nuclear, I'm going to talk about the winter fuel payments, not the nuclear winter payments. That's a very different thing. Oh my god. So yes, winter fuel payments. So obviously this has been seen as a massive U-turn. It's not actually a U-turn, because people were still getting the credit, the allowance of a few £100 a year. They were getting it, and there was a limit. There was a ceiling on, like, if you were earning above X amount, you wouldn't get it. That ceiling used to be very low. Now it's been put up to 35,000, which I think is too high. But it's not really a U-turn. I know we're kind of like making fun of the fact that it's kind of like they've gone back on their big flagship policy, but it's more to do with just sliding it along rather than, you know, sliding the point of where you benefit, where you get this benefit. But it's going to cost 1.25 billion to pay for this. And honestly, it's too high. It should be like 15 grand or 20 grand or something, not 35. It's not clear how this is going to be paid for, and we're not going to find out until the autumn budget. Don't you love surprises? I don't. And Guardian, the people writing for the Guardian, they some of them think that, you know, they welcomed it as a vital correction. Some of the older columnists, others called it a bribe, which is essentially is keep the older lot happy because they're the most likely people to vote, and that's not a dig at young people for not voting as much. I did politics, so I'm a politics wonk. I've always voted because I'm a politics wonk. Even when I was in another country, I would get my mum to vote by proxy on my behalf, do a proxy vote, whatever it's called. But I know I'm not normal. And most of my mates, especially when we were in our teens, I mean, our 20s, we were out partying. We're trying to find ourselves. We're trying to get a job, study, trying to, you know, pick someone up and start a relationship and look for somewhere to live and start our lives. You know, politics on top of all that is a lot. And it's why, look, gotta do it before I get shouted at by Anne, right? Not all boomers are interested in politics, but here's the thing, right? The vast majority of boomers are now retired. Some aren't. My mum isn't. She's still working. But the vast majority of boomers are now retired. And from what I've experienced, meeting people who are retired, I think they're bored out of their minds. And so any kind of distraction is a welcome one. And it's why, I mean, you don't see it anymore, but you used to see pensioners queuing up outside the post office in the morning. You go past on the bus and you're like, why don't you just have a lie in, mate? You can't have a job to go to. Just, standing there in the cold, waiting to get in the post office, waiting to be first in the post office. I'm like, you're retired. Why are you getting the bus at 8 in the morning, mate? What are you doing? They're sitting there at the front, tutting about all the school kids on the bus, all swearing and shouting and spitting and being disgusting school kids because the school kids are disgusting. And they're sitting on the bus and I'm like, couldn't you wait an hour? Do you know, why did you have to? You're retired, and it's boredom. Just fucking boredom. I think that boredom's the biggest killer of old people in this country. You thought it was Harold Shipman. I don't think it is. I think it's fucking boredom. I think people just get so bored, they just fucking die. So I've got no plans to retire. I just want to keep on doing stuff, I'm never going to earn much money for it, but, I just want to keep on doing stuff until I drop. Otherwise, I know what I'm like. I'll get bored. I get so bored, Oh, look how beautiful my garden is. Who's going to care? Ivan, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. It's very kind of you. I have a Labour MP. Response to everything else I stand in, but not on disability benefits. My original correspondence on disability benefits was sent on the 14th of March. Yeah, and they might get back to you on it. They have to get back to you. So it just might take a while. They're formulating their response. It won't come from your MP themselves. It'll come from their office. It'll come from somebody writing in their office. Not all boomers. Did you really think you were going to say? Yeah, not all boomers are bored shitless, so they just get involved in politics. But yeah, if you're going to bribe any particular cohort, the pensioners are the people to bribe in order to get their votes. Unfortunately, you can try and bribe younger people, which would be nice, but you won't get their votes because they won't vote. A lot of them. Anyway, which is fine. I don't have a problem with people not voting. Some people get very upset, very vexed, and say, well, these people voted, then they'll all vote for Labour. They wouldn't. They wouldn't all vote for progressive parties. It doesn't work like that. Because for every young person who's obliged to vote and goes, okay, well, I'll vote for the Greens, you get an older person who's obliged to vote who just votes for the person whose name comes up. Or the name they've heard of. And it's why the Conservative Party in Australia, where voting is compulsory, you get a fine if you don't vote. The Liberal Party, as they call it over there, keeps winning elections again and again. The idea that the third of people who don't vote will all vote your way, it's a fantasy, mate. Not going to happen. They won't. If people are disengaged in politics, they'll make an uninformed vote. And that's not going to help you. It's not going to help you, mate. I'm retired and never bored. If on a bus before 9:30 are paying for it, well, that's good. Have a lie in. God's sake. Graham, they have no legal obligation to get back to you. It's just convention and they can ignore it. Yeah, Joanne. Okay, yeah. When I say they have to get back to you, I mean Labour MPs, in my experience, get back to you. And it might take a while, but they get back to you. Whereas Tory MPs, they'll file it in the waste paper bin. Yeah. So yeah, this look, just to go back to the winter fuel payment, I think it's fundamentally unfair that families who are living off less than £35,000 a year as household income, who have two dependents, who need school uniforms and warm meals inside them each day, are not given this benefit. Whereas a little old lady living in a massive fucking mansion because she doesn't want to downsize, gets this because she's only on a pension and the pension's less than £35,000 a year. But she's paid off her mortgage. Yeah, I think it's a bit unfair. Ivan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Graham, you haven't said the other bad thing about carer's allowance. My mum, now a state pensioner, can no longer get it as my full-time carer. Yeah, another mad thing. Like the carers allowance, I absolutely agree. It's mind-boggling. The other one is PIP, which I discovered from talking to you. Not necessarily you, Ivan. Someone in the chat pointed this out. That if if you're working, you can get PIP, but if you're retired, you can't get it. But if you applied for it before you retired, you continue getting it into your retirement. Whereas if you are retired and then you apply for PIP, you can't get it. Do you know what? None of these cost-saving measures would be necessary if we had just fucking stayed in the EU. Can't emphasise that enough. Sorry for shouting. Uri, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. Only a handful of my friends beside me vote. We're all very left-wing, but not all of us see the point given the state of things, which is fair, I suppose. Yeah. There you have it. There you have it. Look, in life, I am much more carrot than stick. And I'll tell you why. I'm a gobby scouser. I'm a contrarian. If someone tells me what to do, it gets my back up. Even if what they're telling me to do is probably a sensible thing. But it's one of the reasons why I've been self-employed for the last 25 years. It's quite simply, I like making my own decisions in my life, and I don't like other people making decisions on my behalf and then telling me what to do, even if it's reasonable, because I'm a tit. I just don't like being told what to do, but I don't think I'm unique in that. And so the whole idea of like, there's a stick, and the Tories love this. They love the idea of punishments and fear and loathing, and that's how they operate, isn't it? But I'm very much more the carrot person. I want people paid a decent amount for what they do. I want creatives paid a decent amount for what they do. I want self-employed people paid a decent amount for what they do. I want carers paid a decent amount. Nurses, doctors, teachers. I want everyone paid a decent amount for what they fucking do. And I see that as much more important than putting the fear of God in people. In the same way that when we talk about, I think you should be able to get a prescription from the doctors for vegetables. And you go to the, you get free prescriptions. Okay, cool. And you've got health issues because maybe you're overweight or you need more exercise or you just need to eat more green vegetables. You can get a free prescription, and it allows you to get up to £30 worth of fucking vegetables each week. And that's covered by the government. And yeah, that is money going to supermarkets because you'll get them from the supermarkets. I'm not putting a whole new logistics and supply chain in place to pay for this. But it could really make a difference. And that £30 spent on that person to, make sure that they're buying fruit and veg. It doesn't work for anything else. Can't buy baked beans with it. Can't buy pizza. Can't buy oven chips. You can only buy fresh fruit and veg. That's it. And you've got X amount. 20 quid. Let's say 20 quid. Then you spend on fruit and veg. And you know what? Some people will get it, and then they'll go outside and they'll fucking sell it outside in a little stall. They'll be hawking it outside. But most people won't. Of course, the newspapers will take a picture of the person selling it outside the supermarket and go, oh, look, they're wasting the fruit that we're giving them. But most people won't do that. Most people will take it home and hopefully eat most of it before it goes off. Things used to go off not as quick before we Brexited, but then we Brexited. So, Anyway, what I'm trying to say is I am much more carrot than stick in nearly every single aspect of life. I believe in encouragement rather than punishment. Even people who have done something really wrong and they're in jail because of it, not a capital offence like murder or rape or something, but something where they've just stolen something, broken into a car, maybe even mugged someone. I want to encourage them to learn. I don't want to say, oh, well, we're going to let you out, but if you do anything naughty again, we're going to give you a longer prison sentence. So they're let out and they've still got no qualifications and they've now got a criminal record. Who does that help? It doesn't help them. It doesn't help society. But if you encourage them to learn, get some GCSEs, get some A-levels, get a university degree, and then take that into account for early parole above everything else, well, good behaviour, obviously, but you can't have someone who's like got a PhD going around shanking people in jail because they're like, hey, I'm going to get out anyway because I've got a PhD. Obviously there are, each case would have to be taken on its own merits because Obviously, if Walter White was ever put in jail, spoilers, he wasn't. I wouldn't want him getting out just early because he was dead clever. I think that's a bit unfair. But when you get qualifications, BTECs, not BTECs anymore, are they? Whatever the fuck has replaced BTECs these days. Get those qualifications in, and we'll let you out earlier. And this isn't something that's compulsory because I don't want to make learning seem something that is a thing that people go, I don't, are forced to do. I don't want those negative connotations. But you might think me naive. You might think, oh, Graham, you need the stick as well. But saying to people who have got disabilities, who are out of work, that they need to get back into work, they need to waste time looking for jobs, or they'll lose their benefit, I really, really do not think helps. What helps is PIP. What helps is reasonable adjustments so people can get back into work. Or people can just work at higher levels than ever before, despite their disability, because we put reasonable adjustments in place for that to happen. Paula, thank you very much for the £10 super chat. If you're retired when you apply, you can get attendance allowance, which is the same as the care component of PIP, but you can't get the mobility component. Thanks very much for that, Paula, and thanks for the super chat. They make it needlessly complicated, don't they? So anyway, let's talk about the nuclear winter. So the government's pledged 14 billion to Sizewell C, and the interest on borrowing this money is going to be paid through a rise in energy bills, which shouldn't be much. It should be £1 a month, something like that. Compared with how much energy bills have gone up in recent years, it should be nothing. I'm hoping, right, that when Labour go in for their next election, I'm really hoping that energy bills have come down to a quarter of what they are now, because they are currently fucking ridiculous. I think in January this year, right, this is not a big house, but it's a Victorian house, okay? So it's drafty, it's cold. I mean, it's made of stone and brick, and it's like living in a drafty castle. In the winter, me and Kat, when the kids are in school, we don't have the heating on. So I'll be sitting here doing a show, and I'll be me fleece on or a jumper or a hoodie or something. I'll be freezing, I'd be really, really cold. And then when the kids get back, we put the heating on for a few hours, and then we turn it off. We don't have it on overnight. We never did. I mean, that's by the by. It's just you wake up with a sore throat, don't you? But we never used to have we never used to panic so much about having the heating on until the last few years, when our heating bill just went absolutely crazy, and we ended up paying something like what I would have paid when I lived in Orwell Park in Liverpool. What I would have paid in a year, in 1 year, we were paying that in 1 month in winter. And I'm just like, how is this? What is even happening right now? And here's the thing: we're an octopus. Our energy is 100%, or so it's supposed to be, 100% renewable. We're not far from the massive wind turbines that are off the coast, off the Durham coast here, and soon we'll be linked up to the Doggerland wind turbines. We're not going to be getting most of our electricity from nuclear or from conventional fossil fuels. We're going to be getting it from wind turbines. And yet we are paying this insane rate. I really do feel if Labour can get that down to something manageable, to 100 quid a month rather than 500 quid a month, then people will notice. And that's the kind of real life change that Labour need to make, and need to make quickly. They need to get boots on the ground. They need to get houses built. They need to get wind turbines built. They need to get power cables running across the country. And again, there needs to be carrots. We need to have home insulation. I mean, this was mentioned kind of opaquely, but they didn't actually say they were going to insulate Britain, which is one of the fastest ways to save people's energy bills, is by allowing them to turn the thermostats down, because they're not losing all of their heat into their attic. Ivan Ambrose, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. The winter fuel payment system is wrong. What about people below the pensioner age who are struggling with heating bills? Yeah, Ivan, I mentioned that. Yeah, you're absolutely right, mate. You're absolutely right. It doesn't help. It doesn't help economic security amongst working age households. It is a bribe. It's a bribe. And when I'm sitting here going carrots and sticks, right? I don't see the winter fuel payment as a carrot. I see that as a bribe. It's a bit different. It's not encouraging people to do anything, is it? It's not encouraging them to get off their arse and make a change in their community for the better, or a change in their own lives for the better. It's just a handout. That a lot of people don't need. That's my problem with it. Like, obviously, my God, for the pensioners, the 1 in 5 pensioners who live in poverty, cool. Give them it. That's great. But for the pensioners who are, doing all right, and don't forget this is on earnings. So people who already have wealth, is it earnings? Is it? I mean, like I say, you could be living in $1 million mansion, £1 million house, and get this winter fuel allowance for your big 5-bedroom mansion, which has spare rooms, more than one. Indeed. My energy bill is completely tied to one thing and one thing only: how intensely I'm using my computer. Doing something computationally intensive, a high bill, otherwise barely a bill. And says, I took a solemn oath some years ago not to give British Gas a penny if I could help it. I'm with Octopus and I found them very reasonable. Yeah. Graham, it's like the winter fuel with global warming. My flat in the summer is unbearably hot, so I need fans. My mum does in her place too, so the energy in the summer keeping cool. Come here, Sarah. Come to Durham. Honestly, you freeze your ass off. It's so cold up here. Like, we're gonna have like 40-degree heat this week. This is a very thick shirt that I'm wearing at the moment. It fucking freezing all the time. We have these sunny days. The sun does come out, but it's June. I shouldn't still be wearing a fleece in June, I shouldn't be wearing a hoodie when I go out, but here we are. Yeah, Durham. Or Scotland. Scotland's beautiful. Very cold. And I'm sorry, I'm being funny. Like, I know it's not that easy to just move, but like, yeah, you're right. It's summer heat, summer cooling costs as well, and that's going to just get worse with the old global warming. And if we see a shutdown of the, what we colonially call the Gulf Stream, I know it's got a proper name, the undulating Atlantic current, or whatever the fuck it's called. With that shutting down, we're going to get very, very, very cold winters, and we're going to get very, very, very hot summers. Not great for electricity demands. I don't want everywhere getting air conditioning. I hate air conditioning. It's horrible. I used to do some freelance work for a company in Liverpool when I was editor, camera op for hire. I hated going in there. It was this beautiful old building. It was an old warehouse down in the Rope Walks in Liverpool. And so it's this, gorgeous brick Victorian building. And they had essentially, you imagine like they've taken the building, they've scooped out all the insides, they built a new building inside the old building, so that when you're walking down the street, you just see the facade of the old building, and then you've got the new building inside it. And as a result, the windows didn't open, because the windows, there was like windows in the inner building, and then there was like the old building outside, right? So the architects who put this together thought, we're going to have a building of which that the windows don't open, right? Because air conditioning will be fine for everyone. And this was a mixed use building. There were apartments in there. One of my friends had a flat in there and in the same building. And then they had offices in there. And when the air conditioning broke, it broke for the entire building. And you can imagine, like, you'd go in and the heat of the summer. This is back in like 2006, 2007. The heat of the summer. And it was like going into a sauna in there. You'd open the door and the heat would, you're already quite hot because you're outside, the heat will blast you in. It was like opening the oven door to go in to this building. And then you go to the place where people were working at their desks with fans. They've got like 3 fans on them and they're trying to edit video. And obviously all the computers in the room are creating heat as well. And you couldn't open a fucking window because these architects are like, oh no, it's fine. The air conditioning will always work. Do you know what always works? A fucking window. Because even if it won't open, even if it's jammed, you can smash the bastard. It's all right. I found them. Hurrah! Well done, Talk Madia. Now I go to download. Yay! Download festival. Woo! Good old download. Lots of fun. Love a bit of download. And I'll hopefully be reporting from Glastonbury in a couple of weeks. I haven't got our tickets yet, so I'm still a little bit worried about that. But apparently, according to a friend of a friend of a friend, they've managed to wangle us in somehow. So this is going to be my first Glastonbury that I've not paid for. It's actually going to be on my 16th Glastonbury, but it's going to be the first one that I haven't actually paid for. So that's quite exciting. If the tickets turn up. Ivan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. I also can't see the sense of wealthier pensioners now going to get the winter fuel allowance, but it would be clawed back. Just don't pay it to them in the first place. I know, but I mean, I guess it's just an easier way of doing it in terms of practicality. It must cost more to try and work out what everyone should get, which seems mad to me, but that's the way they set it up. So yeah, they Labour's they have said there's plans to boost home insulation. I don't know if they've actually confirmed it yet or not. If someone can point that out in the chat, that'd be great. This idea of this extra money being put into small modular reactors, SMRs, talking about 30 million altogether, 14 billion of that is going to Sizewell C. So these small reactors, they're starting a program with Rolls-Royce, of all people. I didn't know they made radioactive cars. Like the DeLorean in Back to the Future. It's powered by 1.21 gigawatts of electricity. He says gigawatts, doesn't he, instead of gigawatts? We would say a gigabyte. We don't say gigabyte, do we? Need to go back and fix that. So yes, the big investment that really made my ears prick up was the 39 billion, which is going to be put into affordable housing. This is a goal of 1.5 million new homes by 2030. And this is a solid Labour policy. But obviously, Labour shit at comms, and they really need to be banging this drum, but they're not, because they're shit at comms, which we've covered numerous times on this channel. And the housing crisis is not just a supply side issue. Prices will probably only drop by about less than 1% by 2029. We need prices to drop a lot more than that. This is a social issue as well. It's not just a case of there's not enough houses. It's a case of there's a lot of people who are in very big houses that need to downsize over the next few years. They have to. And it's in their interest to do that as well, because it means that they then can pass money on to their offspring while they're still alive. And if you don't cark it within 7 years of passing that money to your offspring, you don't have to pay any inheritance tax on it. So it's a really good idea not to hold on to that shit till you're dead. But also it's a good idea not to hold on to that shit until you go doolally, because if you go doolally and they put you in a home, you're going to have to pay for that. And it's like £1,000 a week. And that comes out of the equity from your home, which eventually gets owned by the bank or by the housing, the home that you're in. This is a great stride. I won't call it a step. This is a stride forward. this investment is absolutely critical, as is the Renters' Rights Bill, which we need to give renters rights against these tyrannical landlords whose job, in inverted commas, it's not a real job, is to steal money off people, steal time off people, steal half the money that people earn when they work to feather their own nest, to pay off the mortgage on their third, fourth, fifth, seventh home that they don't look after properly because they don't have to. And then they can just say, oh, you know what, I'm selling the place, everyone has to get out. They can just throw out an entire family onto the streets. Nothing to stop them. No false eviction. That's all right. Landlords, I mean, I make landlords scum again. That's what I say. I probably won't get on with some of the landlords in the chat here by saying that. But, I mean, seriously, I know people go, oh, but I've got a good landlord. No, you haven't. The only good landlord, right? I'm not going to say it. The only good landlord is a landlord that pays you to live in their property. That's a good landlord. That's what it should be like. They should pay you to live in their property, or you live there rent free. And therefore you know the deal is you live there for nothing, and you if you want to improve the place, that's great. The Farmer headlining at the Byline Festival. Oh, that's awesome, Veg Pie. That's really great news. Give me love to Keith Mullen from The Farm. Is a mate of mine. So that's really cool. The Farm were the ones who sung All Together Now in No Man's Land. It was just pretty cool. They also were the second band that my friend John Mortar got to number one in 2012 for Christmas. 2012, I think it was, with the Justice Collective singing All Together Now with lots of other artists. It was really cool. Really cool track. Got to Christmas number one. And that was after he got Rage Against the Machine to number one for Christmas with Killing in the Name of. Sorry, you want to call it Fuck You and Do What You Tell Me, but that's not the name of the actual track. Now, just to go off on a little bit of a tangent, can we just talk about Brian Wilson for a moment? Brian Wilson passed away. Well, we got the news that he passed away yesterday at the age of 82. Someone described him as the Mozart of America, and I have no qualms with calling him that. Pet Sounds is one of the greatest albums of all time. In fact, I'll go so far as to say it's the greatest American album of all time. It is absolutely phenomenal. And last night, just before I went to sleep, I was just scrolling through TikTok, as I often do before I pass out, and someone put on the isolated vocals of God Only Knows. Oh my God. Goosebumps. And here's the thing. If Pet Sounds hadn't been so good, the later Beatles songs wouldn't have been so good. Because they wrote that particularly because they listened to the Pet Sounds and they went, hey lads, I think we need to up our game. And they did. And some have argued that it actually sent Brian mad. The one-upmanship with the Beatles at the time. They were like, he had these sounds in his head. He had this music in his head, this multi-layered harmonic sound, and he just had no way of expressing it, like getting it out, getting it to sound exactly right. His album Smile took 30 years to fucking come out. It finally came out. I think they called it Smiley Smile or something. There's like a butchered out version of it. But he was diagnosed as a schizophrenic in the 1980s and suffered from mental health problems all his life, as a lot of artists do. But what a fucking legend! What an absolute legend! So yeah, bit sad about that because I now live in a world where there's no Brian Wilson, but there is still a Rupert Murdoch. If you want any further proof that there is no God, my podcast is available. There's an app for that. That's because the Beatles ripped their riffs off old blues and soul. Yeah, they did. I mean, the Beatles it wasn't just blues and soul. I mean, Eleanor Rigby rips off monastic fucking chants, like 15th century. What are they called? Modal tones or something that hadn't been heard for 400 years. Yeah, I mean, incredible. Such a shame about Brian Wilson. He was quite eccentric, but he produced two beautiful girls, Carney and Wendy of Wilson Phillips. Yeah, it's he was 82. He had the good innings, but I just hate that Murdoch's still alive. To be honest with you, fucks me off. So anyway, let's just go broader critique of the spending review because we're gonna have to wrap this up. Been going on for an hour. So investment in net zero, and also quite cleverly in nuclear, which the Tories and the Reeves have got no comeback up for, because they've said, "Oh yeah, we need nuclear," without actually wanting to actually do anything about it. They can't really argue against that. But investment in trams, in homes, really good stuff. They need a better narrative. This is clear to me that Labour need to work on their comms massively. And they need faster delivery. They need this stuff changing people's lives as soon as possible. And this seems to be a long-term gamble with an electorate that is quite obsessed with short-termism. And people have such horrifically short memories in this country. Well, I think everywhere around the world. I don't think we're particularly special in that respect, but there you go. And I think there needed to be more investment in young people in this. I didn't quite see that. There was a lot of investment in infrastructure, but not necessarily in people, training skills, sure start, all that kind of stuff. That wasn't there. This does favour the private sector, as been mentioned in the chat, and the spending on the military. This is, defence revenues going up by 11 billion to get to 2.6% of our GDP by April 2027. I mean, that's not going to help my life. It's not going to help your life either. Well, it's going to help us not get invaded by fucking Russia, but we should just go and fucking take Russia out. To be honest with you, I don't really think they're in a position to do anything about it. You saw what happened with the drones last week. I mean, just saying. The AI spending, they're going to spend money on AI. They're going to spend money on hydrogen, carbon capture. If you watched while I was doing this, I was like, fuck off carbon capture. Plant a fucking tree. And then we have the capital investment is good, but it's not enough without sort of day-to-day spending. And the 2-child cap and the disabled cuts, they help. They don't help. They hurt. They hurt economic stability. They really do. I've been saying this since the dawn of time, but I haven't. I've told you a million times, do not exaggerate, but I feel like I've been saying it for a very long time. Austerity is the worst possible thing you can do to an economy, because it means that people don't have money to spend on shit. The more money moves, the more money you make out of the money moving. Every time money moves, someone makes money out of the money moving. That's the whole point of the capitalist society. And if we're going to live in a capitalist society, we have to make sure that our consumers have enough money to consume. When we're all living hand to mouth, and we're all living day to day with no savings and no pension and no backup funds and no health care and no wages, no holiday pay, no sick pay, just 0-hour contracts up the kazoo. It's not great for the economy. It really isn't. We're not going to be spending money on shit we don't need. We're not going to be buying a Switch 2 anytime soon. Well, I'm not. So I would like to do this, actually. I would like to, and maybe later in the year if I get some more money in through Super Chats, I don't know. But I really like the idea of getting a Nintendo Switch 2 and playing Super Mario Kart, because you can play with 24 other players now, or 23 other players on the net, right? So I'm thinking we could have games where, set it up using the Discord server on this channel, and we'll just do a couple of Grand Prix, and just chill out. Let's do a couple of Mario Grand Prix. You can play as a cow now. Yay! An inconvenient cow. So there was also, we could have done with more detail on alleviating child poverty and school funding. But this spending review kind of shifted the tone for Labour, because it's all been doom and gloom up to this point. And we've got to make savings, we've got to make savings. But this seemed to be like, okay, we've got money, we're going to spend it on this, and this. And look, I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't think it's brilliant by any stretch of the imagination. I'm not cock-a-loop. I'm not like skipping down the road going, this is amazing, this is so good. But it's okay. It's okay. It's better than what we would have got under the Tories by a mile. The criticisms, people felt it was light on substance. People felt there was a lack of cross-departmental planning and shared budgets, efficiency targets, all that kind of stuff. But overall, it was a much better statement than we could have ever hoped for under the last lot, who were absolutely dysfunctional and useless and stupid and not very good at their jobs and completely incompetent. And whereas I will slam Labour every single day for their incompetence in comms, because they're really shit at it, I do appreciate that. They are a more professional outfit when it comes to policy than the Tories are. Whereas the Tories, generally speaking, are more of a professional outfit when it comes to comms. Labour need to do both in the future, going forward. George, thank you very much for the £2, mate. The real purpose of austerity is not to save money. Yeah, the real purpose is just to be tyrannical towards the people who are not as well off. Don't have a cow, man. You can play online multiplayer on the Switch 1 version of Mario Kart. Can you? Yeah, but can you play against... Oh, I didn't know you could do that. That's interesting. But we don't have that kind of... I don't know how I'll do it. I don't know how I'll... I suppose these monitors have got a fucking HDMI in, so you just set it up on one of these monitors, couldn't I? And then there's another HDMI out, or there's a video. What's the video thing that looks a bit like HDMI but it isn't? It's got like the corner cut out. It's almost like a USB, but it's got the corner cut out of it, like on a diagonal. What's that fucking thing called? Video cable. So I could have that coming in and then the video cable going out. Yeah, I could do that. Actually, I've got a HDMI in on this computer, which is how you're seeing me right now. So yeah, that could work. But yeah, maybe I'll get a Switch 1 then, now that it'll be down in price. I really like the idea of playing games, like where we're all together playing games and you can watch it as you're playing. You can have it on your other screen or something. And I'm like, blue shell. I love the blue shell. Wish you had blue shells in real life. People who aren't doing so well get a blue shell. People at the front who've been in the lead for the last 2 laps, they get nuked. And anyone near them gets nuked as well. The worst thing is if you're being lapped in Super Mario Kart and someone throws a blue shell and it blows you up as well because you're too close to the person in the lead, even though they're freaking lapping you. Bit unfair. Okay, so I'm just going to mention the other thing, the big news story of the morning, is that the economy shrank in April by 0.3%. I don't know if this puts the kibosh on a lot of the what Labour want to do going forward, but they expected the economy to contract by 0.1%, and it went by 1.3%. They expected it to be 0.1%, and it was 0.3%. It was 3 times the amount that they thought it was going to contract. In 1 month, that's quite a lot. But this is Trump. April was the month that Trump brought out his fucking tariffs and sent the global markets into fucking a tailspin. He already put like 25% tariffs on aluminium and steel. And yeah, this is the reason why our government, unfortunately, has to suck up to fucking Donald Trump, who's currently causing civil war to start in America. So, but we're not talking about that this morning. Anyway, so blue shells are the worst, says Helen. No, they're the best. I love blue shells. Like, honestly, I think they're the best idea. I wish we had them in society because it means that if you're not doing well, you get given something, you get a bullet bill or you get a blue shell that allows you to progress to the front. and takes out the person who's doing it. Like Mario Kart in general, if you're doing well, you'll just get fucking, bananas and feathers. Whereas if you're not doing so well, you get some awesome shit. There's a weird one in the new Mario where you get like a pizza box and you open it and your head turns into a burger. I have no idea what's going on with that, but drugs. So I'm just going to go over to the papers now for the morning paper review. We've got the Times here. Put Brian Wilson there, 1942 to 2025. Admit it, you rank your friends like Lily Allen. No, I don't. Lily Allen went to private school. Maybe it's a private school thing. Chancellor turns on the tax and spend taps. This is the Times, Murdoch rag, so whatever. Okay. Reeves bets on 300 billion splurge to renew Britain. Okay, so I need to turn to a new page on here. I need a pen. Haven't got a pen. Well, that sucks. I thought I was just playing with a pen while I was talking to you. Oh, god damn it. Dagnam it. I must have taken it away to do a crossword. Oh, hang on, there's a pen there. Ooh, there you go. I have a pen. Okay, so let's rank. Let's rank how much this is going to. So the Times is saying 300 billion. Okay, there. Yeah, you can see there 300 billion. So we're going to write times 300 billion, right? Okay, right. Let's go to the next one. The Mirror. Here we go. 300 billion. Okay, so the Mirror, 300 billion. Okay, so they're in agreement there. That's good. Brian Wilson there with his Lego Man haircut. Looking cool. We've got Stacey's break is strictly for work. I don't know who she is or why she's on the front cover of the newspaper, but whatever. Payback are 122 million for faulty PPE. Court hears demand for refund from firm linked to Baroness Mone. A firm linked to Tory peer Michelle Mone is being sued for 122 million pounds over unusable surgical gowns. Her and her husband Doug Barrowman took over 100 million pounds of taxpayers' money and spent it on fucking yachts and buying property for their disgusting, horrible little crotch nuggets, the offspring sex trophies, what they call children, in Glasgow. They bought some mansions, bought big luxury yachts. She put a picture of herself on Instagram on her boat, the Lady M, Boney M, whatever the fuck it was called. What a gobshite. What a piece of shit. I hope they spend the rest of their days in fucking jail. Really do. Pay back every fucking penny. This is what the rich do to us. This is what the rich do. If they're allowed to get away with it, they will screw us over. Okay, so talking of screw us over, it's the Express. Fears of Gibraltar, betrayal and EU deal. Fuck off, Daily Express. So, if you get on the train at St. Pancras in London, don't worry, this is not a tangent, it's all linked. You have to go through British passport control. Then you go through French passport control, and then you get on the train. When you get to Nantes or to Paris or wherever the fuck you're going, Brussels, you just get off the train and you're there, right? Because you've already gone through passport control in St. Pancras. The same thing is going to happen when you fly into Gibraltar. You are going to have your passport checked by British authorities saying, yep, it's okay that you're here. And then you're going to have it checked by the Spanish authorities in the airport. The reason for that is they don't want people who have spent too much time in the EU going back into the EU and back and forth and making a mockery of the whole thing about people not being able to spend more than 3 months out of every 6 in the EU. Something that was put in place because of fucking Nigel Farage and his privately educated country friends, country folk, country members, God, I hate them. Absolute scum. Anyway, yeah, so they don't actually give... Oh, here we go. Britons face painful and autumn tax rises after Rachel Reeves was accused of fantasy 300 billion spending spree. So we've got the Times, the Mirror, and the Express are talking about a 300 billion spending spree. It's actually about 120 billion, but we'll go over here. Liz Jones, why at 66 I'll never have sex again? Because you don't want to? Oh God. Don't tell J.K. Rowling that you're asexual, mate, because she'll have a go at you. 4 trillion. Okay, so the Daily Mail here, upping the stakes on the Daily Mail. So the Daily Hate is 4 trillion. Not 300 billion, 4 trillion. A reckless splurge we and our children will be paying off for years. Andrew Neil, privately educated, of course, as delusional drivel. This was in a class of its own. Funny you should talk about class because he's privately educated, don't you know? Oh, no. Oh, yes, of course he is. And that's why he's such a massive, disgusting Tory who looks like a slug that's been rolled about in iron filings. Okay, so we're going to go over to The Guardian now. No one will ever sound like this again, says Brian Wilson. Oh, no, he didn't say that. Someone said it about him. Reeves gams on renewing Britain to win trust of voters. Rachel Reeves gambled billions of pounds of infrastructure spending yesterday on renewing Britain before the next election, but faces a battle to convince voters that Labour can deliver change amid deep cuts to everyday spending. Indeed. So, contribute to the contribution to the swear fund. That one was justified. Thank you very much, Jan. Hey, listen, breaking news. Passenger plane has crashed in Ahmedabad, in Gujarat, in India. Shit, it was on its way to London, and it had a capacity of 256. Don't know how many people were on it, but 200 people believed to be on board. It's crashed shortly after takeoff. Oh God, that's awful. Shit. So yeah, that's news coming in on the BBC website. So I was just about to go onto the BBC website to just check something else and saw that it's come up as breaking news. I've been to Ahmedabad. This is what happens when you travel. Like, disasters happen and you're like, okay, I can visualize that. Ahmedabad is where the massacre happened, the Gujarat massacre in 2002, in February of 2002. I was there in the February 2000. I was there like a few weeks before the massacre happened. When over 1,000 Muslims were butchered to death. Under the mayor at the time, or the governor of Gujarat, was a guy called something like Modi, Modi, something. I think he's disappeared now as a politician. No one's heard of him anymore. Farage. Thank you very much to Gene Lefty. If irritable bowel syndrome had a face, yeah. Indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, so gambled millions on infrastructure spending yesterday on renewing Britain. Have you given us a figure here? NHS will rise and no. Okay, well they haven't actually given a number, which is sad because I was trying to see who put like trillions down for some reason. The Daily Mail says it's 4 trillion. 4 trillion. How the fuck have they worked that out? I mean, they just make up some number and put it on the front cover of the newspaper, and they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to lie to their readers, you know. UK strikes historic deal with Spain on Gibraltar, which I've just mentioned as well. And anti-migrant mobs leave families with dilemma. Stay or go there. I hope that's not talking about our country. Might be. Manchester United's failure up here. At 63, I'm fitter than ever after a lifetime of cigs and booze, says some woman. Tax rises now inevitable to pay for Reeves' 2 trillion. 2 trillion. Quick. So in the I newspaper, it's 2 trillion. Okay, so the Daily Mail's still winning with 4 trillion. The I has got 2 trillion. And the Times, the Mirror, and the Express are all on 300 billion. All of which are vastly inflated from what the actual number is. This is the Chancellor that lazy, feckless Britain deserves. What a gobshite. What an absolute gobshite. Alistair Heath. OBE, apparently. The editor of the European Journal, which was an anti-EU periodical, Rag. 2006, he became an associate editor of The Spectator. And he calls what we have in this country cultural Marxism. He called the Brexit withdrawal agreement of Boris Johnson as good as it gets. He said that Brexit was a positive shock for Britain. Multi-millionaire, of course, of course. Very, very rich. And in February 2012, he was announced as the winner of the Institute of Economic Affairs think tank, mysteriously funded charity think tank in 55 total countries. He was given their Free Enterprise Award. Mate, what a shitbag. What an absolute terrible bag of shite. And do you know what's really funny? He's not even British. He's fucking French. He's born in fucking France. He lived in France till he was 17. He's a Frenchman. Frenchman saying this is the chances that lazy, feckless Britain deserves. A foreigner, a Frenchman telling you to fucking Brexit. A foreigner telling the country of Britain to leave the EU. Is he telling France to leave the EU? I don't know. Maybe he is. There you go. We'll give it a Gallic shrug, shall we? Fucking Frenchman. These are the immigrants that we should be getting angry about. Alistair Heath, Elon Musk, Rupert Murdoch. We should be getting angry about those immigrants because they're the immigrants who are taking everything from you. They want to deprive you of life, liberty, and fruit of the loom. Absolute fucking scumbag. Of course, he went to Oxford. College, very tough. Anyway, so apparently we're lazy and feckless. Lazy and feckless. I'm sorry, I'm going to demonetize the video now. Fuck you, Alistair Heath, you cunt. Sorry, I don't like my country being called lazy and feckless. I don't like my family being called lazy and feckless. I don't like you watching this being called lazy and feckless. I don't like my neighbours, my community here in Durham being called lazy and feckless. Fuck you, Alistair Heath, you piece of human detritus that masquerades as some kind of pundit on the backs of the fact that your family was so absolutely minted that they could just, go over to Alsace and, let up little Alistair, he can grow up in rural France, he can. The fucking stately home. Coming over here, calling us, British people, lazy and feckless. Go fuck yourself too. Unalivement, you absolute piece of shit. This is the time that we need the trebuchet. The trebuchet. Bring out the trebuchet. Fucking Brighton Pier. Put him in there. Cut the rope. Off he goes. Launch him into the sea. Yeet that motherfucker into the briny. What a piece of shit. This is the Chancellor that lazy, feckless Britain deserves. How do you feel about being called lazy and feckless? By a toff. By some inbred fucking gobshite. With fucking 6 toes on each feet. What an absolute shithouse. Shithouse on fire. Daily Telegraph there. The Reeves looking like she's just launched a silent but deadly. Reeves hits police and defence to fund NHS. She hits defence? They're putting up defence spending to 2.6% of GDP in 2 years' time. Like, they put loads of money into defence. Do these people just not have to report facts? They can just report the feelings. The feelings. Rachel Reeves has been accused of sacrificing police and defence spending in favour of a record handout for the NHS. Okay. Anyway, at a glance here, I know this is a bit small, but the NHS plus 17.2 billion, police plus 0.2 billion, defence 1.2 billion plus 2 billion, debt 3.3 trillion, total size of public debt by 2029. Okay, so ignore the debt for a moment because that's not exactly her fault. That was accrued, the majority of it, under the Tories. The rest of it, like, how does 1.2 billion plus 0.2 billion plus 17.2 billion equal 4 trillion, according to the Mail? How does the mathematics work? George Dawes, who are the lazy and feckless? Asked George Dawes. I'll tell you who the lazy and feckless are, my good friend. They are the lower orders, the great unwashed, the hoi polloi, the riffraff. They're the problem, If only they just shut up and work for me so I could earn more money for my personalised license plate on my motherfucking super yacht, then, we'd all have cake, wouldn't we? But they're always like, oh, I want rights. Oh, I want to stay warm in the winter. Oh, I want my children to have enough food to stay alive. Yeah. The problem is they didn't work hard enough to have very, very rich parents who, spat them out onto a pile of fucking bloodstained money from, ancestral wealth from where the family used to own slaves, don't you know? Funny thing, we only finished paying off the debt to, the reparations paid to us, slave-owning families, not the slaves. They only finished paying that off in 2016. Funny that, isn't it? Right, back to the papers. The spend of austerity. Chancellor reveals huge £3 billion spree. So Metro here, Metro is saying that it is 300 billion. Okay. Reeves claim as she boosts cash for NHS, housing and asylum scheme, but tax rise warnings grow. Then we've got Reeves launches 13 billion renewal push. So the Financial Times, with the only actual accurate figure of how much they're going to be spending on this renewal push, 113 billion. That's the actual figure. Thank you, Financial Times, for giving us facts. It's a bit less than what the Metro said, and the Express, and the Mirror, and the Times, who have all said 300 billion. It's a lot less than what the I said, which said 2 trillion, which is 2 million. And it is a fuckload less than what the Daily Mail reckons, with 4 trillion. Fantasy economics. But they know that their readership are stupid enough to believe it. But there you go. Hello there. How are you this morning? Seems like a lot of journalists are actually morally bankrupt. Do you fancy getting a few drinks up in Newcastle? Yes, hello there, I do. Don't know who you are, but I'm always up for a drink. So yeah, Newcastle's not far. It's only 15 minutes on the train from Durham here. So yeah, I'm up for meeting in Newcastle. Kat's in Newcastle. Kat's working in Newcastle today. But hopefully she'll be home later. I'm missing her. So there's Reeves there looking very smug. I don't like the smug look. Don't do the smug look. Why are you doing the smug look? Borrowing fuel spending spree on big capital projects. NHS gains 29 billion boost as defence and education win. Squeeze on Home Office, FCO and Culture Ministry. Tories say Chancellor will be forced to increase taxes. Of course they will. Of course they say that. But Labour will increase taxes, but they've said they're not going to increase taxes on working people. So they're not going to increase taxes. They've said this on national insurance paid by the employee. Paid by the employer, yeah, fuck it, but not by the employee. They're not going to raise VAT and they're not going to raise income tax for working people. People who make a lot of money through not working, whose money works for them, I'm hoping they're going to get taxed to the hills. And this bullshit, and can we just call this out now, about all these millionaires who are leaving the UK, it is bullshit. It's been reported all over the fucking press in the last few months. Like, oh God, 10,000 millionaires are leaving. Like, first of all, if 10,000 millionaires did leave, that's still like 0.1% of all the millionaires in the country. But that's not even true, because that's just self-reported on LinkedIn, and it includes people who are just working in other countries but are still domiciled in the UK. In fact, the number of people who have actually really genuinely left the country as a result of Labour getting in, all these taxes that they've put on VAT on private schools and on inheritance tax on wealthy landowners, heaven forfend, and also tax on employers' national insurance, and they've also put the capital gains tax up. The people who have left because of that is literally a handful. It is 2 or 3 people about. It's very, very, very few. Do you want to know why? Because this is a pretty good country to live in. And I know that the grass seems greener on the other side of the fence, and people believe that they'll have a better way of life, better quality of life in another country. But that doesn't always happen. Some people go to Australia and they think, wow, this is great. Spend a few months there and go, actually, I think I'll go home now. It's just what happens. Orvi, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. For a bit of good news, looks like we're getting close to a cure for HIV and a snake bite panacea. Wow, that would be fucking amazing. That would be absolutely society changing for countries in Southern Africa. That could change so much. Ivan, thank you very much for the £5 super chat. Mel Stride yesterday was both infuriating and laughable at the same time. He's such a clown. Yeah, like honestly, I was trying to remember what he was saying. I was trying to take in what he was saying, but it was just such bullshit. My northern bullshit meter was pinging off everywhere. I couldn't focus. I couldn't focus on this mad person who was just like, oh, well, this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen. I was like, oh my God, he's mad. He's mad. He's mad as a bottle of chips. Anyway, right. So, so nuclear submarine deal here hangs in balance as Pentagon launches review. This is to do with the AUKUS submarine deal, a pact at a time with heightened tension with China. This is a submarine pact with Australia and the UK. It's been thrown into disarray because Trump is obviously working for Vladimir Putin, because that's the only way things make sense. And Liz Hurley is naked at 60. She's a Brexiteer. She can fuck off. Privately educated, of course. God only knows what would be without you. Oh. Brian Wilson. God only knows what I'd be without you. Wonderful people watching the chat, watching the show, chatting in the chat. Thank you for coming on. Now this is a shithole country, says Vendetta. I disagree. Honestly, I disagree. I really do disagree. I know I wake up sometimes and go, oh, what's the fucking point of this country? But I've lived in other places. I've traveled to other places, and it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not quite as bad as we've been led to believe by the Murdoch press, by Rothermere, by the Barclay brother, by Richard Desmond, the porn purveyor, the publisher of Barely Legal. The reality is that, well, you can go anywhere and face the same trials and tribulations that you do in this country. You could go somewhere where trans people are given more rights by the government, but that doesn't necessarily mean that your neighbours are going to be nicer to you. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be invited to join in community events and things. You just don't know. Depends where you are. It's a lottery. And some people are willing to roll the dice on that, and good luck to them. And I hope that it works out. And, usually it does, one way or another. But at the same time, I don't think Britain is done for. I don't think it's beyond redemption. I think that we'll muddle through. I think that if refuck get in, we might end up in a place where we're beyond redemption. But I don't think we're there yet. And you might think me hopelessly naive and, clinging on to the copium. But the reality is that no country's got all the answers. And whereas one country might do something better than other countries, it might do something else that's worse. Norway Fucking beautiful place. Absolutely beautiful. Spent time in Stavanger, in Oslo, travelled around. However, it gets fucking cold in winter. Oh my God, it gets cold in winter. Jesus, titty fucking Christ. It gets cold in winter. Wow, it gets cold. So, okay. Go live in Spain. Go live in Malaga. No, Granada. It's nicer. Go live in Granada. Beautiful. Beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. Go to the Alhambra Palace. Climb up to the Moor's Last Sigh. Osamos Suspiro del Moro. Great. Go do that. Enjoy your tapas. It gets fucking hot in the summer though. Oh my God, it gets hot in the summer. Jesus Christ, it gets hot in the summer. So, Spain, great. It's a wonderful country. They still have bullfighting, which I think is a cruel and just a disgusting thing to do to a sentient animal. So yeah, not perfect. And I mean, it's a lot better now. But I traveled around Spain 23 years ago with a vegetarian, and trying to get food that didn't have meat in is a lot better now. But trying to get food that didn't have meat in back then was just it was almost hilarious. You'd go in some like a cafe or a little restaurant or something, and you'd be like ordering a salad, and you'd be like, no carne, no carne. And they'd be like, yeah, no carne. And then it'll come, and the person I was with was Jewish and also kept kosher and everything. And she's looking through the salad, and it's like these little cubes of meat in there, And she says, "Is this ham?" And I take it, yeah, that's ham. We call the waiter over and we said no carne, no carne. And he said, oh, poco carne. So yeah, nowhere has all the answers. Italy, beautiful, beautiful country. Gobshites in government, fucking Nazis in government, fascists in government under Maloney. And then you've got other places that are making great strides in one way, but taking strides back in another way. Sweden has got a shit government at the moment. Nowhere's got it right, because our countries and our democracies, our regimes, our way of life are a reflection of us. And we're stupid, messy creatures who fuck things up and get things wrong and self-sabotage, and we don't always get things right, and we don't always want to admit when we don't get things right because we're stubborn and stupid, and it's the human condition. And we seem to be pre-programmed to believe that the grass is always greener when that isn't necessarily the case. And the beautiful, beautiful thing about the EU, and one thing that I just loved above everything else, was that I could just go and live and work anywhere in my continent that I wanted to. Yeah, I didn't want to work in fucking Belarus. Fuck it, I don't care. All the countries that I would want to live and work in. Malta, it's beautiful. Switzerland's good. Up in the on those trains, just on time. It's amazing. The chocolate, the longhorns, the yodeling. I could just go and live anywhere I wanted in Europe, no questions asked, pretty much. And now I can't. Now lots of questions will be asked. Mostly, how much money have you got? And if the answer isn't to their liking, I can't fucking live there. So what we could have done years ago is move, spend 6 months in Prague, decide if it was to our liking, and if it wasn't, move on. Go and spend 6 months somewhere else. Can't do that anymore. You want to go and live in Prague, you've got to check in with the Czechia regime, with the administration over there, with the government. You've got to ask for permission. You spend 6 months there, and you think, it's not really for me. Let's move to fucking Lisbon. So you move to Lisbon, you've got to ask the Portuguese authorities if it's okay if you move there. And they're going to say, how much money have you got in your bank account? What job have you got? Can you support yourself? Lots of questions. Questions that weren't there before. Yes, you could actually be deported from a European country if you weren't working. Hardly anyone was. Hardly anyone was ever deported from Britain for not working. Most people have just gone on with it. Can't do that anymore. Can't decide where you want to live. Can't, have a selection. Now you've got to sort of choose, and that's it. You got to Pick one. Pick one and then put all your money into moving. Not great. Butties, says Mr. Tusk. Germany has fallen yet. Germany, the AfD are doing really well in Germany. There's a dark side to my mind, about 1% that would like Farage to become PM, because I want to see him have to work 50-hour week. It'll kill him. No, it wouldn't. He wouldn't do it. It'd just be like Trump. He'd just be like Trump. He'd go and play golf. You see, the thing is, there's no law that says the Prime Minister has to work a 50-plus hour week. There's no law saying that. It's all convention. And you know as well as I do that these tough bastards, these fucking rich motherfuckers, these multimillionaires, they have no time for convention. They have no time for politeness, decency. They go on about being anti-woke. What they mean by that is they're anti-decency. They're anti-decency. They don't want people being decent to each other. They don't want people being kind or courteous, diplomatic. They don't want any of that. They want everything to be 4chan. They want everything to be cruel and bullying and misogynistic and transphobic and homophobic and just xenophobic and just all the horrors of life just brought together for everyone to have to deal with every day. That's the world they want to create. That is the world the Conservatives want. That's the world that the Republicans want in America. They want everyone upset and angry and fighting and having a shit life. It's why I often say the best revenge is a life well lived. The best revenge we can do right now is just to laugh at them motherfuckers. Milkshake throwing is fun, but that can land you in jail. But you know what upsets them more? Being laughed at. Being laughed at. Being laughed at. Just laugh at them. Laugh at how pathetic they are. Bring up the fact in a council meeting that motherfucker who's now in charge of our council here in Durham left his last business owing, investors and the taxman £1 million. How can you be that shit at a business? How can you be that shit? And how can you still be allowed to be roaming the streets? If I had stolen £1 million from a bank or from a museum in terms of priceless relics or diamonds, done a diamond heist, pretty sure I'd be in fucking jail for a very fucking long time. What is it with these well-connected businessmen who get to do this kind of shit and get away with it time and time again? Embezzlement, thievery. That they take this money, they take this investment, they spend it all on themselves, on personalized number plates for their yachts and all this kind of shit. Gold rings for their mistresses and for their mistresses, and they walk away. They just drop the bomb, walk away, say, "Oh well, the company didn't work out, limited by guarantee." Anyway, love you guys. Got to catch you later. Oh, thanks, Diz. Love you too. Kiss to you. Okay, I'm gonna head off. I've been rabbiting on for far too long, as usual. I hope to be back tonight with a Hughes of the World. I don't know if I'm going to do it, to be honest with you, because it's a lot of work putting together everything. And bang for your buck, it's not really conducive. It's a fun thing to do, but I think that my time will be better spent doing something else on the channel that more of you can get sort of behind. So I might do. Where am I up to? I did Egypt last time. What comes next alphabetically after Egypt? El Salvador. I think it's El Salvador tonight. I might do one about El Salvador. That'll be relevant, won't it? Because I can talk about the capital, San Salvador. I can talk about the president, Bukaki, and I can talk about this fucking Supermax jail that they're putting people in from America. Veg Pie. Thank you very much for the £5 super chat, Veg. On Hull in Greece in the 1980s, I ordered pizza with no meat. It turned up with meat on. I questioned the waiter. He said, "It is no meat, it's ham." Yeah, I know. I exactly the same experience. Just like, no, it's not. I know you said no meat, but just a little meat. Just a little meat. Farage probably wouldn't be PM for more than 5 minutes. He'll hand it over to Tice, who would delegate most of the duties to random blokes he recruited in the street. I mean, I think he would be prime minister. I don't see why he would hand it over to anyone else. There's no moral obligation, legal obligation. Sorry, there's no legal obligation for the prime minister to do any work whatsoever. As we saw with Boris Johnson, he missed 5 Cobra meetings in the run-up to COVID. In the run-up to lockdown, he missed 5 Cobra meetings because he was writing a book on fucking Shakespeare. At the time, he was the prime minister of the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. He was writing a fucking book. He wasn't there. Farage would be exactly like that. He would love the trappings of office. He'll fly about the world He'll still continue to hawk fucking gold and all the other shit that he does on the side. He'll make a fuckload of money, and his stupid, dickhead, moronic fucking supporters who haven't got a fucking brain cell to rub between them are going to go, oh, no, Jay's really sticking it to the elites. Look at him sticking to the elites, eh? Oh, I love the way that he protested so strongly and vigorously against not being able to get a bank account at that posh bank. People in this country who can't even get a fucking normal bank account at a fucking normal bank are voting for Nigel Farage. That's how insipid it's so all encompassing, the drip feed of poison into people's minds through their eyes, through their ears, for like 30, 35 years, probably longer than that. I'll say 46 years since Thatcher got in. You know, we've just had this never-ending flow of bullshit fed to people, and so they just believe it. They just believe it, and they honestly believe that Nigel Farage, privately educated, multi-millionaire guy who goes around on a fucking private jet to hawk gold for a living while being an MP at a constituency that he doesn't even fucking attend. They think he's the fucking second coming. Working class people voting for that. Voting for that monster. And look at him. Well, don't look at him too long. He's disgusting. But if there was a by-election tomorrow for whatever reason in Clacton, they'll vote for Nigel Farage again. Just like all the MAGA supporters will vote for Trump again. No matter what he does. He could do the most horrific thing to a MAGA voter you could imagine them doing. And that MAGA voter, should they survive that horrific thing, will vote for him again. Because this is the power that gangsters have over the popular imagination. Right, anyway, people make excuses for gangsters, don't they? They always did. Oh, they only killed their own. I said bye because Graham said he was going. I say I'm going, but then I find something else to rabbit on about, don't I? Anyway, hopefully I'll see you at 6 tonight for Hughes the World on El Salvador. If not, I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, morning brew. Before I go, say a big thank you to Ian for the super chat. Oh, hang on. No, don't do that. Fuck, I pressed the wrong button. Right. Thank you very much for the super chat to Ian. I'm doing this purely to beat Sarah. Your pettiness is a beautiful thing because it's given me a little bit more money. A billionaire calling millionaires elites, and he wants free gold-plated 747. Yeah. There you go. Anyway, so give us a like on the way out, please. Really, really appreciate you watching this. I really appreciate you sharing it with your friends and letting people know that this channel exists. Really appreciate all of your comments in the chat. Really, really appreciate all of the super chats. It's really kind of you. Until next time, I'll say thanks for watching. Hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.